Welcome everyone to episode 12 of Shoot the Hoot Raw. I'm Chuck Taylor, co-founder and chief go-getter here at CyberHoot. I'm your guide, your pilot, and your occasional stand-up comedian for today's flight. Now, if this is your first time joining us, buckle up. Around here, we like to talk cybersecurity without putting you to sleep. If you came for boring compliance lectures, you clicked the wrong link. You know, they say myths are stories people tell to explain the unknown. For example, myth: eating carrots will give you night vision. Nope. If that were true, my kids would have laser vision by now. Same goes for cybersecurity myths. A lot of us believe them. Some of us still do. And today, we're busting them wide open. Today's episode is called Cybersecurity Myths We All Believed and Maybe Still Do. So think of this as group therapy session where we confess all the bad advice that we once trusted. Don't worry, it's a judgment-free zone. Unless your password is literally password 123, then we will judge you. But with love. All right, before we start myth busting like CyberHoot's Mythbusters nobody asked for, but everyone needs, let's take a look at today's flight plan. First up, we're diving into the 5-minute rant where I bust 10 of the biggest cybersecurity myths still floating around out there. Spoiler, if you still think Macs don't get viruses, this part's gonna sting a little. Next, we got the CyberHoot Nerd Update. This is where I share what's shiny and new on the platform, what's coming down the pipeline, and yes, occasional bug we try to pass off as a feature. Then it's time for open mic Q&A. You ask the hard questions, I'll give you kind of the answers that sound confident, but may or may not have been thought of on the fly. And finally, we'll wrap up with a hoot-worthy story. This one's called Spit Happens, the 23andMe breach. It's one of those tales where you'll cringe a little, but hopefully walk away a lot smarter. So let's hop into slide 3, the first myth. Okay, so let's tip things off with one of my all-time favorites. You probably heard this in every small business meeting ever. We're too small to be hacked. Yeah, hackers love it when you say that. It's like telling burglars, don't worry, we don't lock our doors because our TV isn't really that big. Well, you may have heard, we're not big enough for hackers to care about us. Yeah, that's basically a green light for the hackers to come on in. Here's the truth. 43% of cyber attacks target small businesses. That's almost half. Why? Because hackers know smaller businesses often don't have Fort Knox defenses. They're more like the house on the block with no alarm system and the key hidden underneath the doormat. Anyone guilty of that? Yeah. To wrap this one up, hackers don't care about your company size. They care about whether your Wi-Fi password is still password 123. And sadly, in a lot of cases, it is. All right. Apple fan, this one's for you. For years, people swore, Macs don't get viruses. It was basically a badge of honor. And hey, back in the day, it was kind of true. Hackers mostly targeted Windows because Microsoft owned the user market. Macs were the hipster laptops nobody bothered with. But now, Macs are everywhere. In schools, in offices, even in coffee shops where people pretend to write novels. I'm on one right now. Here's the reality check. Malware on Macs grew over 1,000% in 2023 compared to 2022. So hackers don't care about your shiny Apple logo. If it's online, it's a target. So the only thing more dangerous than a Mac without antivirus is a Mac owner who still thinks they're immune. All right. Next myth. Myth 3, people think antivirus is enough. That's like locking your front door, but leaving all the windows wide open. Sure, it keeps some of the stuff out, but phishing, ransomware, and social engineering, they just stroll right on in. So here's the kicker. 94% of malware is delivered through email, bypassing traditional antivirus. So yeah, antivirus does help, but it's basically like holding up an umbrella in a rainstorm, right? In a hurricane. Technically, it's doing something, but you're still getting soaked. All right. Next myth. Let's bust myth 4 wide open. Cybersecurity is IT's job. Sounds good, right? Just let the IT team handle it. They're already the wizards with wires and passwords, right? But here's the truth bomb. 95% of breaches are caused by human error. That's 95%. Guess what, folks? That's not a firewall problem. That's a people problem. IT can't be everywhere. They can't hover over your shoulder with that sketchy email hits your inbox, or when Carl downloads totally not malware.exe for the 50th time. IT can't do it alone. Cybersecurity is a team sport. Everyone's on the field, not just IT. If you sit on the bench and say, not my problem, congratulations, you've just become the weak link. So yeah, IT leads the charge, but it's all of us keeping the castle safe. Otherwise, hackers don't need to break in. We just leave the drawbridge down. All right, let's see here. So we are on the slide, says banner. Okay, here we go. Okay, myth 5. Oh, I kind of lost my spot here. Whoops. Oh, there we go. So myth 5, strong passwords are all you need. All right, sorry about that. So strong passwords are great until they're stolen or reused. And then they're about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. That's why you need multi-factor authentication. Add MFA, and suddenly the hacker's job goes from easy pickings to, ugh, not worth it. Funny story, when I was getting an alarm system put in my house, the salesman was like, oh, this is a great alarm system. He goes, oh, you need the outdoor signs. It comes with 2 outdoor signs that says, hey, you're protected by Guardian. He goes, you put these 2 signs outside, and the burglars see that sign, they automatically go to the next door neighbor. And I was like, really? Cool. How much are the signs? Should I buy just the signs? He was like, no. All right. So, but I digressed there. Let's get back to the actual strong passwords. So over here, boom, open my banner here. Let's see here. I might have hit the wrong one. That's not the right banner. Sorry about that. I'm a slide behind. There we go. I think that's right. 65% of the people reuse passwords across multiple sites. So sure, your password might be strong, but if you used it for your Neopets account in 2004, the hackers already have it. So strong passwords, they can be good, but if they've already been compromised, might be in bad shape reusing and reusing. All right. All right. Over to slide 8. Some companies think we've already trained once, so we're good. That's like saying, I brushed my teeth last year, so cavities can't get me. Training isn't a one and done deal. Hackers evolve daily, so your defenses have to evolve too. That's why at CyberHoot, we won't do the once a year training flu shot approach. We do short, repeatable, bite-sized training that sticks. Here's a kicker. Retention drops by 90% if training isn't reinforced within a month. So thank you, Ebbinghaus, for getting curved for that. So 90% retention, right? It drops by that much. So no, one training isn't enough. I mean, I can't remember where I parked my car this morning, let alone a fishing lesson I took back in 2022. Oh wait, I don't have a car. Okay, let's keep going. Boom. Some folks think fishing, oh, that's easy to spot. Really? If it was that easy, I'd be out of a job and living on a beach somewhere. Well, maybe not on a beach, but I wouldn't be a CyberHoot. Today's phishing emails are polished, professional, and thanks to AI, eerily legit. Anyone can be fooled. The trick isn't shaming people when they click, it's teaching them how to spot the patterns that give phishing away. Here's the reality. 83% of organizations reported phishing as the most common attack in 2023. And let's be honest, it's easy to spot a phishing email when you've got time and you know what you're looking for. But when you're late for a meeting, juggling 30 unread emails, and an urgent DocuSign hits your inbox, suddenly, welcome to Click City. All right, myth 8, hackers only target big names. Ever heard someone say, we're fine, we're fine. Hackers only go after like Amazon, banks, or the Pentagon. Nope, that's not how it works. Hackers don't sit in the darkroom saying, today I'll head Bob's Auto Shop. Nope. They unleash bots that spray attacks across the entire internet, looking for whoever left the door unlocked. Automated bots, launch attacks on new websites within 5 minutes of it going live. 5 minutes. You can't even finish uploading your company logo before that bot's already knocking at your door. Bottom line, hackers don't care if you're on Amazon or Bob's Auto Shop. If you're online, congrats. You just bought a ticket to the world's worst lottery. Myth 9, compliance equals security. Some folks think, we passed the audit, we're secure. That's like saying, I passed my driving test, so I'll never get into an accident now. Doesn't work that way. Compliance is about checking boxes. Security is about real-world readiness. Big, big difference. 73% of organizations that were fully compliant still suffered a breach. Ouch. It's like flossing the night before you go to the dentist. Sure, you look good in the chair, but you still got some cavities in there. So yeah, compliance keeps the auditor happy. But hackers didn't read your compliance report. They're too busy exploiting that unpatched server you left. And the last one, it's extra dangerous. People think, if something was wrong, IT would catch it. Well, not exactly. Hackers are sneaky. They can hang out in our systems for months before anyone even notices. The average time that IT actually sees this breach, right? The average time of the breach is about 207 days. That's more than half a year of bad guys poking around in your systems before the alarms even go off, or before someone even notices. And here's the kicker. IT can't see everything. They're already drowning in tickets, patches, and yes, resetting Carl's password for the 12th time this week. That's why every employee matters. Your instincts, that suspicious email you report, that weird login you flagged, those are the frontline defenses. Security isn't just IT's job, it's the whole team's game. So there you have it. 10 cybersecurity myths busted. Now, myths are fun to laugh at, but let's get real. The real magic and chaos happens in the code. And speaking of code, it's time for our nerd update. Here's what's been cooking behind the curtain. First, we cleaned up the dark web module. You can now manage additional domains right in settings. No more digging around to find out where they are. Next, we squashed the bug where power-ups looked enabled when they weren't. Nice try, Phantom features. Not happening. On the phishing side, attack fish is now polite enough to send emails between 9 a.m. and 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. only in your time zone. No more midnight phishing sprees under the moonlight. We also run a user compliance breakdown in the My Work group, so you can spot who's slacking at a glance. Customer settings done a big cleanup too. Fewer required fields, easier manager deletions, and your login message now shows the email you actually typed in when logging in. In Autopilot, you can now see exactly which phishing email went to which user, because knowing is fun, and it's fun to know that, oh, the Spotify one went to John this week. We also made suppression lists smarter so they don't choke on API limits. Oh, and you'll notice the newly redesigned customer dashboard in Autopilot. Nice fresh coat of paint for a cleaner flow. Finally, a big one, library videos now support multiple languages. Cybersecurity and CyberHoot goes global. And that's a wrap on this update. Lots of polish, a few power moves, and a splash of global flair gets it done. All right, let's hop over to our myth-busting edition of Q&A. This is your chance to ask the burning questions. No judgment, no jargon, just straight talk. And yes, if no questions come in, I'll ask my own. I'll hit a home run answering them. So throw some questions my way. All right, question 1. If antivirus isn't enough, what should small businesses add first? I think the obvious answer is layered defenses. You've got to use a number of different things. It's sort of like defense in depth, right? Phishing simulations, multi-factor authentication, awareness training. So, and of course, antivirus is a great thing, but antivirus is just a seatbelt. You also need airbags, brakes, maybe even a horn that actually works. So yes, layer your defenses, use multiple ways of doing this to protect your small business. But start with the phishing simulations and the awareness training. You know, I'm a little biased on that one, but it's true, start there. All right, question 2. Excuse me. We're a small company. How do we convince leadership that hackers really target us? Well, I think this is kind of simple. Stats talk. 43% of cyber attacks hit small businesses. So hackers don't care if you're Amazon or Bob's Auto Repair. If you're online, you're in the lottery, no one wanted to win. Remember, those botnets are constantly, scanning, looking for unpatched systems, et cetera. I had a server one time in one of my other businesses where the engineer put the system up, he put a default root password on, and then forgot to change the root password. We had SSH open to the internet, and as you know, I was in the system one day and noticed a bunch of processes running there I didn't recognize. Now, I noticed that they were all done by one of the botnets, but it's out there, and it happens quickly. So you gotta be careful, stay on top of it, share the stats, get ahead of it. All right? And those are our Q&A. Oh, man, I got another one here. Oh, Mr. Taylor, Craig Taylor is joining in. He wants to pop in here. He says, MSPs, let's see if I can share him. Boom. MSPs often struggle to deliver security awareness in a way that scales. How does Cybersecurity make it easy for MSPs and MSSPs to roll out training and phishing protection to all their clients? Great question, Craig. It's almost like you teed one up for me. So what does Cybersecurity do to make it easy for MSPs and MSSPs? Very simple. Our autopilot platform, it allows you to have a multi-tenant environment that will allow you to add a customer in, configure their training, sync them with either Google or Enter ID, have all that done in 5 to 10 minutes, and have training going out to these businesses. It allows us to, in a sense, set that thing and let it run. And the MSP and the MSSP just sits back, they collect reports out of the system, and just work with the customer on any questions that they have. But our autopilot platform makes it so simple and so easy. That's why the platform is the best on the market. All right, good question, Craig. Thanks for sharing and teeing one up for me there. I appreciate it. Oh, let's see here. Let's see. Boom, go back to my banners. Let me turn this one off. Hide this banner. All right. So let's move on now to our real-world horror story. And no, not the kind where Carl clicks on the link again. This one is about DNA. That's right, 23andMe, company where you spit in a tube to learn that you're 0.2% Neanderthal. So what happened? In 2023, hackers didn't break into their servers using some super secret exploits. Nope, they used something way simpler, credential stuffing. Translation, people reused the same password they'd already leaked in other breaches. Hackers just tried them on the 23andMe accounts. Spoiler alert, it worked, big time. What was the breach impact? Hackers accessed data from millions of users, genetic heritage info, personal details, even family connections. So imagine explaining to grandma why some stranger knows she's 14% Irish. Not fun. This breach shatters a couple of the myths we talked about today. 1, strong passwords are all you need. Wrong. If the reused password was super strong from your old Neopets account, hackers already had it. This is why dark web monitoring is important. You can have a super strong password, but if it's compromised by some system, and you're not monitoring the dark web for those compromises, boom, if you keep reusing that password, you're gonna be hacked again. 2, another myth, we're too small to be hacked. Also wrong. 23andMe isn't a bank, but hackers didn't care. If it has personal data on it, it's valuable to the hackers. And 3, if something was wrong, IT would know. Guess what? It wasn't IT who spotted this one. It was users noticing their weird logins were happening. So the lesson is cybersecurity is a team sport. It's not just IT's job. It's not about buying the shiniest of tools. It's about building habits, unique passwords, MFA, in a culture where we take this stuff seriously, where everyone takes this stuff seriously. It's a team effort. Otherwise, hackers don't need to work that hard. We hand them the keys. And honestly, the scariest part of this story isn't the hackers that accessed their DNA data. It's that Carl probably still uses password 123 for his 401k account. Reused passwords are a killer. All right, last slide. And that's a wrap. That's episode 12 of Shoot the Hoot Raw. Today we busted some of the biggest cybersecurity myths out there, from we're too small to be hacked to compliance equals security. Hopefully you walked away with a few laughs and a lot fewer excuses. Remember, cybersecurity isn't just about tools, it's about people. It's about building a culture where everyone feels like part of the defense, not just the IT team. So keep questioning, keep learning, and keep hooting with us. Oh, and email me this code, hootsmith10, to shootthehoot@cyber.com, and I'll give you 10% off the next invoice of the first person to respond. Thanks for joining, and don't forget, keep your coffee strong, your password stronger, and your Carl supervised. Hoot on. Hoot on.